If you're getting Social Security, August 2025 might be the month that changes your financial reality. The Social Security Administration just confirmed what many thought was impossible. Payments reaching $5,500 per month are starting to roll out. But before you start planning that vacation, there's a lot more to this story than the headline suggests. I'm going to walk you through exactly what's happening, who's actually getting these payments, and most importantly, what this means for your Social Security benefits. Because while $5,500 sounds incredible, the reality is both more complicated and more interesting than you might expect. Let's start with the number everyone's talking about. When the SSA mentions $5,500, they're referring to the maximum possible Social Security retirement benefit for someone who meets very specific criteria. This isn't a universal increase that everyone's getting, it's the ceiling, not the floor. To put this in perspective, the average Social Security payment right now sits around $1,900 per month. So we're talking about a maximum that's nearly 3 times the typical benefit. The question is, how do you actually reach that maximum? Here's where it gets interesting. To receive the maximum Social Security benefit, you need to check several boxes that most people simply don't qualify for. First, you need to have earned at or above the Social Security wage base for 35 years. In 2024, that wage base was $160,200. This means your income needed to hit that threshold every single year for 3.5 decades. According to census data, only about 6% of workers consistently earn at this level. Second, you need to delay claiming benefits until age 70. Most people claim Social Security at 62 or their full retirement age, which is typically between 66 and 67. But if you wait until 70, you get delayed retirement credits that can boost your benefit by up to 32%. Third, you need to have worked for at least 35 years. The Social Security Administration uses your highest 35 years of earnings to calculate your benefit. If you worked fewer years, they'll average in zeros, which obviously brings down your monthly payment. When you run the numbers, we're talking about someone who had a high-paying career for their entire working life and had the financial flexibility to delay Social Security until age 70. That's a pretty select group. Now, here's what's driving the August 2025 timing. Social Security benefits get adjusted annually based on the Consumer Price Index. The 2025 Cost of Living Adjustment, or COLA, was announced at 2.5%. While that might not sound dramatic, it's enough to push the maximum benefit over the $5,500 threshold for the first time. But let's be realistic about what 2.5% means for most recipients. If you're getting the average benefit of $1,900, a 2.5% increase adds about $47 per month. That's helpful, but it's not life-changing money. The bigger story here might be what this reveals about inflation and Social Security's purchasing power. Even with annual adjustments, many economists argue that Social Security benefits haven't kept pace with the real cost of living, especially for essentials like healthcare and housing. The August rollout date aligns with how Social Security typically implements benefit changes. New COLA adjustments usually take effect in January, but administrative processing and system updates can mean some recipients see changes at different times throughout the year. However, I take any specific date predictions with a grain of skepticism. The SSA's own communications have been more cautious about timing than some of the headlines suggest. Their official position is that maximum benefits will reach $5,500 in 2025 without committing to a specific month. Let's break down what these changes actually mean for different groups of Social Security recipients. For current retirees getting close to the maximum benefit, maybe $4,800 or $5,000 per month, this adjustment could indeed push them over the $5,500 line. These are typically people who had high-earning careers and delayed claiming until 70. For the vast majority of recipients getting average benefits, the increase will be proportional to their current payment. The 2.5% COLA applies across the board, so everyone sees some increase, but the dollar amounts vary dramatically. For future retirees, this sets a new benchmark. If you're planning your retirement and trying to maximize your Social Security benefits, $5,500 represents the new ceiling to aim for. Here's what I find most interesting about this story. It highlights the growing inequality within Social Security itself. While maximum benefits are reaching historic highs, the program's long-term funding challenges remain unresolved. The Social Security Trustees 2024 report projects that the trust fund could be depleted by 2034 without legislative action. If that happens, benefits could be cut by about 20% across the board. So while we're celebrating maximum benefits reaching $5,500, there's this underlying question of sustainability. Some policy experts argue that raising the wage base, the income level subject to Social Security taxes, could help address funding shortfalls while also supporting higher maximum benefits. Others worry that this creates a system where high earners get disproportionately large benefits compared to their tax contributions. I want to address some of the more sensational claims floating around social media about this announcement. First, this is not a special payment or stimulus. It's the regular application of cost of living adjustments to existing benefit formulas. Second, you don't need to apply or take any action to receive COLA increases. If you're already getting Social Security, these adjustments happen automatically. Third, while $5,500 is indeed the new maximum, the number of people actually receiving this amount will be relatively small, probably less than 1% of all Social Security recipients. If you're currently working and planning for retirement, this news actually offers some valuable insights for your strategy. The path to maximum Social Security benefits requires consistent high earnings and delayed claiming, both of which need to be planned for decades in advance. For someone in their 40s or 50s, focusing on maximizing your earnings in your peak career years becomes even more important. Every year of high earnings that gets factored into your benefit calculation can have a significant impact on your eventual monthly payment. The delayed retirement credit strategy also becomes more attractive when maximum benefits are higher. The difference between claiming at 62 versus 70 can now be more than $3,000 per month for high earners. To put this in global context, a $5,500 monthly Social Security benefit is actually quite competitive internationally. Canada's maximum CPP benefit is currently around $1,300 CAD per month. The UK's state pension maxes out at about $1,100 USD equivalent. However, these countries often have more robust employer-sponsored pension systems or additional government retirement programs that supplement their basic state pensions. This announcement comes at an interesting political moment. Social Security remains one of the most popular government programs, with strong bipartisan support for maintaining and even expanding benefits. However, the program's long-term funding challenges require difficult decisions that politicians have been reluctant to make. Raising the retirement age, increasing the wage base subject to Social Security taxes, or means-testing benefits are all options that have been discussed but remain politically challenging. The fact that maximum benefits are reaching historic highs might actually make these conversations more difficult. It's harder to argue for benefit cuts or tax increases when headlines are celebrating record-high payments. One aspect that doesn't get much attention is the administrative complexity of managing a system that serves over 70 million beneficiaries. Implementing COLA adjustments across millions of accounts requires significant technological infrastructure and careful timing. The SSA has been working to modernize its systems, but they're still dealing with legacy technology that dates back decades. This might explain why benefit changes sometimes roll out gradually rather than all at once. Based on current economic projections, future COLA adjustments will likely continue to push maximum benefits higher. Inflation forecasts suggest modest increases over the next few years, which means we could see maximum benefits reach $6,000 or more by the end of the decade. However, this assumes no major changes to Social Security's benefit formula or funding structure. If Congress acts to address the program's long-term funding gap, the calculations could change significantly. Here's my take on what this really means. The $5,500 maximum Social Security benefit is real, but it's not a windfall for most recipients. It represents the top of the benefit structure for people who had high-earning, long careers and were able to delay claiming until age 70. For most Social Security recipients, the more relevant number is the 2.5% COLA increase applied to their current benefit. That's meaningful money, but it's not going to fundamentally change anyone's financial situation. The bigger story might be what this reveals about Social Security's role in retirement security. For high earners, the program can provide substantial income replacement. For average earners, it provides a foundation, but probably not enough to maintain their pre-retirement standard of living without additional savings. The confirmation of $5,500 maximum Social Security payments is significant, but it's important to understand it in context. This isn't a universal increase. It's the result of cost of living adjustments applied to an already high benefit structure that only a small percentage of recipients will ever reach. If you're planning for retirement, the real lesson here is the importance of maximizing your earnings during your working years and considering the timing of when you claim benefits. The difference between an average Social Security benefit and the maximum can be substantial, but it requires decades of strategic planning to achieve. As for the timing, while August 2025 makes for a compelling headline, I'd focus more on the overall trend. Social Security benefits are keeping pace with inflation. Maximum benefits are at historic highs, but the program still faces long-term challenges that will require difficult policy decisions in the coming years. The question isn't whether some people will get $5,500 per month from Social Security. They will. The question is what this means for the program's sustainability and whether future retirees will have the same opportunities to maximize their benefits. What's your take on this? Are you planning your Social Security strategy around maximizing your eventual benefit, or are you treating it as just one piece of your retirement puzzle? The answer might determine whether news like this represents opportunity or just interesting headlines.